The Dry Hooch mission, helping veterans and their families who survived the war survive the peace.
Dry Hooch is a place where veterans can gather informally in a coffee house, a safe, comfortable, drug, and alcohol-free environment. Dry Hooch is a nonprofit organization formed by combat veterans to help veterans in their return home.
If you would like to know more about our nonprofit organization or to make a donation and make a difference in a veteran's life, please visit www.dryhooch.org.
Okay, Ryan, do me a favor and spell your name out for me.
The whole thing?
Yes.
First name, Ryan. Last name is Nielsen hyphen M as in Mike, Ccants. Mccants.
With 2 C's.
Yep.
That's crazy.
Yep. About as Irish as it gets. I don't know if it really is, but
That works.
it's technically like the small C, big C deal. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, what year did you get out? And what was your ETS date?
I got out in 2016, the end of 2016, November 8th.
Anything else special around that time helps you remember?
Yeah, but it's a dark story.
Ooh, yeah, let's go. We got time, Ryan.
So when I was getting out of the Army, I was in a horrible marriage at the time. The mother of both my children specifically. And she started seeing some Army guy that she had known before me. And she claims it's because I was drinking too much, which it may or may not have been true. That's still a terrible excuse in my opinion. But she started talking to this guy, Jody was getting in there. And when it all came crashing down or whatever, his birthday is November 8th. And as I was getting out of the Army, she was trying to get me to watch the kids so that she could go see him for his birthday. And I didn't know that until I caught some messages between her and her mom. So like, here I am thinking she's going to go see her family and she was really going to see him and trying to make me watch them. Like as I was going through like my whole ETS and stuff and surgery and I had just had my accident and stuff. So there's a lot going on at that time.
Damn.
Yeah. Can't forget it.
And what was your last base?
Fort Riley, Kansas. Terrible place.
So did you stay there for a little bit or did you right away shoot back to Wisconsin?
No, I stayed in the area for a year, I think, afterwards. It was a rough period, though. I was...
because basically it was all just divorce, right?
It was all divorce, and there was a period where I was homeless in there because the living conditions that I was in were, like, so bad. It was like, I'm going to end up in jail or I live in my truck, and I chose truck. So for a good, I don't know, probably month and a half, I was sleeping in my truck. And I would just like drive down the main road out into the countryside and just like pull off into like random farmland and just drive my truck, turn the lights off, sleep, hoping that I never got caught. I can't believe I never got caught. I so was ready for someone one night to just come tapping like, what the are you doing?
Yeah.
But that was actually what allowed me to expedite my service connection was because I was homeless. So I was homeless and had just had surgery coming out of the Army on my shoulder. Was still like struggling, had no like physical therapy lined up or anything. They sent me, out the Army with stitches in my shoulder. You'll get care on the other side. And that's all there was to it.
Damn. So, how long were you homeless?
About 2 months total. I was sleeping at like friends' houses for a little bit, and then I just ended up in my truck because I got sick of freeloading.
Yeah.
Yeah. That part was probably one of the lowest points of my life.
Yeah, you're unemployed. Were you still receiving unemployment?
I wasn't getting anything at the time.
Damn.
They forced me to ETS because of like how everything was set up. I was supposed to get med boarded. I was coming up on my ETS date. I was trying to like bypass my med board and re-enlist because I didn't want to get out despite what they wanted. And in doing so, I pissed off my chain of command and they just forced me to ETS. So I didn't get out with any kind of service connection or anything. I just got out like a normal civilian ETS after.
But you didn't even collect unemployment? Dude, you're like allowed to collect unemployment for 6 months when you get out.
I didn't know any of that shit.
Yeah, no, but nobody tells you.
Yeah, I didn't know anything at the time. And so, no, I just was nothing it. And she was working, so she was taking care of the kids at the time. And I was just scrounging. I think I had like, I was working a really crappy job at a liquor store, of course. It was very convenient for me. Getting free, you know, like shots and stuff all the time. And it was putting the little bit of money I had to like buy food. That was like all I had. It wasn't enough. I think I was making like $600 a month. It wasn't enough to pay rent or anything to get in anywhere.
Yeah. Damn.
And it was probably worse because I was getting really good access to alcohol, which that was probably one of the highest points of my drinking was when I got out. I was in pain. I was pissed off. I was sad.
Yeah, you lost the Army.
Yep.
Right? Like your position, your job, and your purpose.
Yep.
And then what you wanted to hold on to go have something was a family.
Oh, yeah. I struggled with suicide a lot in that period. That was probably one of the parts where I struggled with suicide the most since I've been out, was that initial period. Because I just didn't see a point. I was like, I don't understand why I'm here anymore.
Yeah.
I don't got no job. I don't got no wife. She's out here messing with some other dude. At the time, it felt like my kids hated me. They don't, but it felt like it. I was drinking crazy, and every time I tried to stop, I would start having like really bad withdrawal symptoms. So I was just like, I can't even stop drinking if I wanted to. I was just like, I don't know. It was a dark space.
Yeah. What did you tell yourself at those moments where you were like, fuck it, this is a bad joke? It's the end.
Honestly, rest in peace to my service dog. I used to have a service dog at the time. She died of cancer a couple years ago, which like was devastating for me.
What was her name?
Kimber. I named her after my pistol. At the
That's
time,
exactly.
of course.
I was just thinking 45.
Honestly, I think if she was in the truck with me, I think if I wouldn't have had her, I don't know if I would have made it. I really don't. The idea of like offing myself around her and like her being around whatever and just I just wouldn't sit well with me and I couldn't do it. And I think honestly, like if I wouldn't have had her, I don't know if I would have made it.
And how old was she?
She died when she was 5.5 years old.
That's not very, very old for a
She
dog.
had leukemia. That was also a dark period. I was sober at the time too, and had been sober not super long. I thought if I didn't have a girlfriend at the time, I probably would have ruined my sobriety then. I had a really good relationship. I'm still in the same relationship now. If I wouldn't have had that going for me, I might have relapsed when my dog died. That was like everything to me at that point.
Yeah. She was the one thing that was holding on to you and you were holding on to her.
Yep. I mean, she's lived with me when I was homeless. That was my fishing dog. She'd come out on the boat with me. She was with me everywhere. Every trip I took, every plane ride, everything.
What type of dog was she?
A boxer lab.
So you went from being homeless, going through a divorce, working at a liquor store, just you and Kimber, living it up, and you were homeless for about 2 months. And then you started staying with friends a lot more?
No. So I was saying before, at one point I don't remember what made me do it. Someone had mentioned it. I lived, the spot where I was at was close to a VA that also had a connected regional office. And someone was like, dude, you got to go to the VA. You have to. And they took me. And I had went in And I got to explaining like that I still had stitches in my shoulder that I knew were supposed to have had came out. And that I needed to like get into physical therapy and that I couldn't use my arm and stuff. And that I was like living in my car and stuff. People just like started setting off flags. They were like, "Are you serious?" And like took me here and took me there. They managed to get me into a shelter and get my service connection expedited. And so I went from having nothing and no service connection future to being service connected in about, I said probably 2.5 weeks. It was quick. Luckily for me, I had all my paperwork done and I had just been holding on to it when I got out. When I like ETS, they helped me do my packet. So it was all done. All I needed to do was turn it in. And they got that turned in and turned back around in like 2.5 weeks. And so I got this, decent back pay and all this stuff. And it was enough for me to get into an apartment and catch up on bills and kind of start to separate myself from what is now my ex-wife and stuff. That was what saved me, honestly.
Crazy, right?
Yeah.
So you only had to do like 2 weeks of inpatient and then they got it turned around on you, or did you have to do more than that?
So I did that period right there. I lived in a shelter for about those 2 weeks or whatever. I had already been to rehab once before then. While I was still active duty, I went.
But this shelter was not.
It was not a recovery center. No, it was just for people who were like
homeless.
Yep. I ended up going to rehab shortly thereafter, though. Yeah. My drinking was getting like way out of control. And I literally like maybe 2 months after I got into my housing, I was in rehab again for the second time in my life.
Damn.
And I think I'm trying to think. I spent all of my rehab stays were all over 30 days. The longest being when I was just at the Dom my last time, and that was 3.5 months.
So after rehab, how much from that time did you shoot up to Milwaukee? Where did you go after rehab?
So I said I lived in Kansas for like another year after I got out. Mm-hmm. I went to rehab somewhere around that 6-month mark. And then I stayed for like another 6 months until stuff started getting like really squirrely with me and my ex-wife. I was living by myself in my own place, and we started getting into custody arguments and stuff started getting crazy. And in fear of like where my headspace was at with it, I was like, I want to go back home. And so I got this wild idea, and I was just like, look, I'll pay child support. I didn't want to leave them, but like I was like really, I was ready to do some wild stuff at the time. And so I was just like, I don't know if at the time, because of my inability, I kind of felt like I had no choice. I felt like I was going to do something stupid and end up in jail anyway, or I needed to leave and go get my head right. So I was going to go home and just let her keep the kids. And literally like a week before I was getting ready to leave, she came around playing that old sad song and trying to be everything, and I was stupid.
Like, oh, we can make this work if I just do this and you do
Talking
that.
about going with me back home to Milwaukee to have a fresh start and this and that. And I believed it. And so that's exactly what happened. Me and her came back here, kids in tote. She's still here now. But we came here, so-called fresh start, lasted maybe 6 months.
Yeah.
Maybe 6 months. I think the allure of having a big, nice place and, all these things were starting to kind of like work. That kind of kept things going for a little bit. Mm-hmm. But then once all that just became like business as usual, all the normal stuff came back out.
So did you guys start the divorce process when you were in
So somewhere in that story, when I was living alone, I got legally separated. Mm-hmm. And so I came here being legally separated from her. And that was actually one of the terms, is that we would drop our legal separation if things went well. they did not, and it stayed that way. I didn't get actually legally divorced until probably 2021. She fought it for a good bit, not wanting to sign paperwork and arguing over terms and stuff. It was a lot to get it all in there without having any like major issues.
Where did you guys actually get married at?
We originally got married in Alaska where I met her at.
Oh, wow. And then you finalized divorce when you were in Milwaukee.
Yep.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I once heard somebody say, "Why is divorce so expensive?" Because it's worth it.
Yeah. That's a good point. And it was more expensive. Mine wasn't terrible because I'm smart and I was able to kind of play my cards. I knew what kind of person she was. Mm-hmm. So I was able to play my cards and kind of work things over and get into a space to where when we went, I don't pay any child support. I have primary living for them. So I'm like 51% technically, even though it's 50-50. I didn't have any issues. We were already all separated and had all our stuff separated, which was my mentality and having my own place. So like I didn't have to deal with any like separation of property or anything. We were able to pay like a little student worker attorney downtown to do our packet for like, I think it cost me like $180.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it wasn't super expensive.
Do you think she was going to try to come after you for more, or was she just like...
I mean, like I said, I worked really hard to like try and get her into a space and explain stuff to her. And we fought through a lot of stuff, you know, like trying to explain to her, like, look, you think you're getting everything. You're going to go in there. That judge is going to be the person who decides, not us, not me, not you. And, you know, a lot of that was able to get her. But I was nervous for sure that she was just magically going to be like a person I don't even know, you know, once we got into that courtroom. So I was on... Oh, man, my anxiety was so high when I went through court. Just being in court, too. I don't like being in court and being around that system. I grew up in courts and being around that system. So
the second I go to the courthouse, I just have a bad day, no matter what. Even if it's something good, like just the fact being there, I'm just like, either divorce or going to prison.
Nothing good comes out of that place. Like almost nothing good comes out of that place. At least not for me.
It's just, even though you could be doing something good, it's just like such a bad feeling at that place. I don't. Yeah, courtrooms just suck. So 6 months into your continued marriage here, and then you guys continue to decide you are gonna split for good. And where were you at with like headspace and job and everything at that time?
I started tackling music somewhere in that space when I started living alone in Kansas. I didn't have like any kind of crazy training. I had done some online classes and stuff, but that's where I had started music. That was my attempt at having some kind of profession outside of what I did while I was in the service. I couldn't tell you why I picked it. I love music. I always have. I like technical stuff. I think I did like a Google search and it was one of the things listed. And I was like, oh, that sounds like it'd be kind of cool. And just went after it. But that's what I was doing when I had got here to Milwaukee as well, is music. And that's still what I do now. So I was always trying to work and improve on my small business in the background of all this chaos whenever I could. My marriage finally came crashing down in one very definitive moment, though. We had like that final argument. It was the same night that I went to the Dom. And so that was kind of the Dom, seriously, is I couldn't say that enough. That place changed my life. I'm eternally grateful for the things that I learned while I was there, the people that I met while I was there. That was the turning point in the life that I have literally right now. I am the byproduct of the recovered person from their program.
What year was that? 2017, 2018?
No, that was in 2019, I think, actually. Yeah.
Damn. So you have not been out that long.
No. Well, I'm getting there now, but I think 2016, it'd be I'm coming 7 years, something like that. Not super long. It still feels like yesterday.
Yeah. I mean, dude, it took me a good 10 years just to not like react
Yeah,
to shit.
sure.
Like, I'm just like, pfft, nobody's dying right now. Yeah, I'm not even gonna get upset. Like,
I'm just starting. I say this a lot. I'm just starting to feel like a civilian. I think, or I feel like a civilian. I don't feel like a soldier trying to
you
pretend
mean
anymore.
privileged, emotional, and able to complain about whatever you want when you want.
That's a different type of person.
It is. It's crazy because
That part's hard to.
yeah.
I'm one of those veterans that paperwork would tell you that I have like issues with like ability to adapt to regular society and stuff. Whether that's true or not is anybody's determination. But I will say I have a huge problem with dealing with some of the entitlement and the ridiculous stuff that I hear, and just
From other veterans.
other veterans. Yes. Lots of civilians, other veterans too. There's lots of. I don't meet a lot of combat vets.
Yeah.
Most of the vets that I meet are all, they're good people. I'm not saying anything against them, but I don't know. It's not the same. I hate drawing that distinction, but it's not the same.
Yeah, because that just means they were a civilian in a uniform in your army.
Yeah.
Because we all know that like the purpose of the military and the army is go to war.
Everybody supports the infantry.
Right. And if you're not one of those guys that's like immediate combat MOS, your job is literally just a civilian running around in a uniform.
None of our stories, I'm in here talking about, war for real. And, a lot of people can't relate and stuff. And it was being around other guys like me that got that part too, that really made a difference for me. And that's what I got at the Dom was other combat vets. So,
Yeah, I had a thought in my head, but I don't know. I mean, for me, I definitely thought the people that they presented themselves as, the veterans, were like the guys in my unit. Mm-hmm. And when I trusted them, I totally got burned bad.
sure.
And that was like my real awakening to, wow, these guys that call themselves veterans and shit that serve probably honorably are not the guys that I left behind.
Yeah.
And that was a hard pill for me to swallow.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think I've noticed too, I get really irritated when I try and like talk to veterans and stuff. And then like we get to talking and they say some stuff that like in my eyes would have made them like a complete shitbag while we were in. And it's just like, you're not my type of person, man. Like I lived in and breathed Army while I was in. It was like my father figure. I joined when I was 17 years old. That was my father figure. I had a lot of respect for it because I still do because of that. And so like I would hear guys joking about doing this and that, and it's just like it would irritate me.
Yeah. It's crazy too, because I also looked at the military as like well, all the NCOs were like all a father type to me in some way, and a personality that like I took with me as like, man, that's how I should be. That's how I need to be.
I've still to this day like modeled myself off of some of the best NCOs that I've had.
Yeah. Uncle Sam was your dad.
Yeah, for sure.
Uncle Sam was the daddy.
I used to be upset about that. I'm actually really proud of it now. I have no problem. It's what it is. I mean, that's
Yeah. For a fact. What is if you could summarize it in like one paragraph for somebody getting out, what would be your best advice?
definitely get locked in with the VA early, right away. That's probably first and foremost. even if it's only a little bit of a service connection, anything is more than nothing. And I don't remember exact stats. I don't want to ruin it, but I think it only takes like so much of a percentage for you to get like healthcare and things.
I think for the first 5 years, your healthcare is actually covered.
Right. So, I mean, you deal with that part first, because even if it's your mental health, you at least have somewhere to get treated. And I would say probably if you're not going to do the thing that you did while you were in, take advantage of the school and go find a career. That was probably the next best thing that I did. Figuring out what am I going to do now and pursuing it. And the whole school gig, man, I can't say. I still feel like I'm getting away with murder. They literally paid me $2,200 a month to go to school full time, and paid for my school and all my books. So I never saw a bill, and I was getting paid enough to live and do and eat.
You need to show me how to do that.
Yeah.
After this.
Yeah.
Because I have till 2027 to use mine, and then my GI Bill goes poof.
Yeah, no, that was one of the greatest things I did. It's great money in your pocket, something to do. You're learning a thing. You're meeting people. That was like, that helped me make the friends that I have now and stuff. Like, that was huge for me going back to college. So I would say probably the VA and college. Those are two things that they offer. Those are two things people should definitely do first.
Yeah, and collect your unemployment.
Yeah.
For 6 months.
Yeah.
Yeah, the 3 steps would be go to the VA, go to the unemployment office, get paid for the 6 months, wait for your VA compensation to kick in. While you're trying to figure that out, do your schooling.
Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah.
So is there any time from 2019, the time to the Dom, a big significant part in your life up till now?
It sounds boring, but probably the two most influential surgeries that I've had. Part of both were from the same combat injury too. But when I had surgery on my right shoulder to have my right shoulder repaired, and when I had my stimulator put in, my back were probably the two most, especially my stimulator, that changed my life. I was in so much lower back pain that I could barely use my legs sometimes, and was having issues with urinating and all sorts of stuff. I was really down bad, and my stimulator has changed life entirely for the better. Being able to tolerate my pain and being able to function and
do you have
stuff.
a picture of what it looks like?
What, my stimulator?
When it was implanted in you? Well, we'll have to find a picture for the slideshow.
Yeah, I think I
Up
do.
on the screen. That'll be cool.
So yeah, that would probably be the biggest, just because I was I used to call myself a gimp all the time, but I just didn't have it to play with my kids and do stuff. My back was always killing me. My shoulder was always killing me. That gave me the ability to move around and kind of feel like I could do stuff again. So that was probably the one that was the most beneficial for me.
Awesome. All right. I think, Ryan, what we're going to do is either just pause it so I can get 2 chunks, and then either we can find a way to wrap it up later, or, you can put a cool little closing on the end of this.
Yeah.
Or, whatever. When you have the 2 junks, when you have the 2 junks together, you can see what you want to add or take away.
Yeah, sure.
All right. Awesome.